What is good, beautiful people? I'm your host, King Lion of Blocks, and we're going to be reviewing the Candyman 2001 movie. I know I'm late. The movie has already been out. I was trying to take a different approach when I did this one. Instead of like going to see it and then reporting it immediately, I wanted to try and go back and rewrite it. Not rewrite it, but more so talk about write down what I saw. And the only problem is it took a lot longer, and in terms of writing, I'm only halfway into it. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna do what I normally been doing, is winging it. So first things first, this movie was amazing. I did write down some key points, so I'll take from that to kind of help me out with where I'm at with the movie. But first things first, I will say that Jordan Peele is amazing. This man, he knew what he was doing when he did this movie. And a lot of people were iffy about it, myself included. I didn't know if this movie was going to be good. I didn't know if this was going to be like the other versions of Candyman, which they were so-so. But first things first, we start off with that movie. I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to hold off on spoilers. I'm going to give my opinion on it first before we go into spoilers. I will say that for the movie itself, it did the series justice. The character, it did justice, as well as continued the underlying theme of the movie, where it's prejudice, people being accused of things they did not do, which happens even today. And with it being in Jordan Peele's hands, he knew, he understood the material, and he did it well. He showed the story of Candyman, as well as connected it to the canon, to the other movies. Overall, I would say that I gave the movie I gave it a 9, a low 9, high 8, only because if there was one issue that I had with the movie, and I won't say it was so much an issue, it's more of it was an interesting take on it. So boom, the story starts off with as a starving artist. The artist's name is Anthony McCarty, and Anthony McCarty, and he was enjoying dinner with his girlfriend, his girlfriend's brother, and his boyfriend. And they are enjoying wine, as artistes and upper scale people do, box one, knocks right out. And so as they're enjoying the wine, the brother is saying, "Hey, do you guys want to hear a story?" And he tells them the story of Candyman. Keep in mind, I'm not going to be saying his whole name out, because while I'm saying this into the camera, I'm afraid to actually make eye contact with the reflection, because of the fact that this is who it is. That should tell you anything, that I'm not afraid of a lot of, okay, I take that back, I am afraid of a lot of things, but I'm things superstitions. There's some things that I have no problem with doing. There's other things that I do have a problem with doing. And looking into a mirror and saying this person's name 3 times, real or not, that has always been a Black person's fear. When I first started watching these movies of him, I thought the first one was a little corny. It was kind of like not Friday the 13th. It was kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street corny, which I can see how they got scared, how they were scared back then. But watching it now, the animations of it and everything, it kind of looked a little cheesy. But the mythos of him is what really scares you, which I'll get into that. The brother tells a story about this news reporter. Her name was Helen Lynch, and she was trying to do the story of McCarthy Bay, or McCarthy Park, McCarty Green's home. She was trying to do a story on it, as well as like the story of said person. We'll call him CM, because like I said, I'm not saying his name multiple times. CM. And as she was trying to do this story, out of nowhere, she lost her mind. And they go through the story of how she allegedly killed a Rottweiler, multiple people of her friends and family, and then one day she kidnapped a child and took him into a bonfire. And as she was running to take the child to the bonfire, this group of people that lived in that area, they found her and beat her up and took the child back and watched her burn. Now, if anyone that's watched the first movie knows that is the story, allegedly, that's the story of Helen Lynch in the first movie, with the minor tweaks. Allegedly, that's what everyone else saw, but what really happened was CM had committed all those murders and framed her on it, because no one else can see him. Unless you say his name in front of a mirror 3 times, you would not see him. So, of course, to any other person that didn't live in that area, that knew his legend and his mythos, all believed that she caused those murders. Anthony, the main character, decided to do a little bit more research because he was inspired by this story of this lady that lost her mind going into this area. And as he's going there, taking pictures of this area, taking pictures of the place, a bee comes by and stings him with his hand. Dusts it off, pretends like it's nothing. As he's in this area, and it's basically the projects, basically. As he's in there, he meets this gentleman that gives him some information about Helen Lynch, and tells Anthony that, hey, Helen Lynch didn't do this. It was allegedly C-Man, and he was the one that did it. And so when Anthony asks him who this person is, he goes into the story of telling him that he's a lot of different people. That he is a gentleman by the name of Sherman Fields, who would give candy to children. He was a little, special. He would give candy to children. The adults didn't have an issue with that until a white girl got her mouth cut because there was razor blades in it. They were looking for Sherman, and when they did finally find him, because of the character that's telling William Burke, that's his name. William Burke, as a child, caught Sherman by accident. He was going to go wash the clothes. Sherman was inside the wall. Sherman took it upon himself to give the kids some candy, but Sherman, one, actually had a hook on his hand, and two, you're coming out the wall giving kids candy. That's a little creepy. Of course, the kid's gonna scream. So the kid screams, and the police finds him. The police proceeds to beat and brutalize Sherman to the point at which he is unrecognizable, and then they kill him. Weeks later, razors are still pulling up. Razor blades are still in kids' candy. Razor blades are still in candy that are being distributed out to kids. They find out that they got the wrong person, and so hatred like that, and this is what William says. He says that hatred like that doesn't go away; it gets transferred, and that is the story of this version of Seaman. And so Anthony goes on and he tells the story. He has at his art museum, at his exhibit, a portrait as well as the story of Sherman Fields, which anyone that's watched the original movies knows that story is a little bit different. It's same but different, but they continue on with the show, and not the show, with the movie, and they try to connect it to the other ones, which I'll get into. As he's showing off his exhibit, there are people around. They're reading the story, that are taking it upon themselves to they question if this is real or not, and it's funny because out of all the people there, and this movie is it's racial, but it's racial in a controversy with it. The black guy, Anthony's girlfriend's brother, him and his boyfriend, lover, they were like, you want to say it? He's like, no, I'm not gonna say it. Black people don't do this. Which I thought was kind of funny because it's absolutely true. Black people don't go around trying to conjure spirits. We just don't do that. Anthony, unfortunately, he's the lone one because he took it upon himself to try and conjure up Seaman in the mirror. But we'll get into that shortly afterwards. So, as I mentioned before, like people were going around looking at it, wondering if it was real or not. Anthony's girlfriend's brother decided not to do that, but this high school girl, and yes, she is, took a picture of the little paper that had the story and the mirror, and wanted to take it upon herself and her friends to conjure the spirit of Seaman at high school, which if you've seen the trailers, it's the scene where the girls are saying it in the mirror and they get murdered. They get slaughtered. It was a bloodbath. Like, and I guess that was kind of the angle that Jordan was going with, where in the original story you really didn't see Seaman all that much. That was the shock value, is that we the viewers did not see what he did. We could hear what he did and see the after effect, but more often than not, we didn't see him actually kill anyone, with the exceptions of like the close-up shot kills. But one of Anthony's I guess the managers of the art show, while he was cleaning up, he looked at the mirror, and his assistant that he was having, we'll call it alone time, or no pants dance time, decided to, what would be more sexy than to conjure up a spirit as we were doing it, and she took it upon herself to call upon the power of the spirit of Seaman, and that's the first time we see him actually kill. And at the time of him killing, Anthony has already tried to call his spirit just to see like if it's real or not, because he ain't afraid of no ghosts. Like I said, nothing happened to Anthony, but we noticed that his hand, from the bee sting that he received, was starting to get infected. And as the movie goes on, we notice that it's getting more and more infected. It starts to decay a little bit, and it's just his hand, but it's going up further and further up, getting more and more decaying. The nails are starting to come off. It looks like the hand is starting to decompose. And he goes back to William and tells him that, hey, something's going on. People are dying left and right. There's a scene in the movie where William tells Anthony that this thing that's happening, Seaman he's more than just Sherman Fields. It started way back to Cletus Burke, the original Seaman. And then they tell us a story of him where he was a well-renowned painter, a very smart black man, that his crime was that he fell in love with a white woman and had a child. Unfortunately, at that time, in slavery time, they weren't having it. They chased him all the way up to McCarthy Bay and beat him, covered him in honey, sawed off his hand, and put a hook on it. And that's the original story, which I loved how they combined the original story as well as made it so that like how they mentioned that this hatred doesn't go away. It transfers from person to person, a new Seaman at each stage of the game, of every injustice that there is of someone being wrongly accused of something, that is what he is. That's the when a victim is being wrongly accused of a crime they did not commit, or being accused of a prejudice of something that they didn't do, they have became a C-man. I like the movie. I liked how they took on it, how their take of injustice, and that any form of it can breed a C-man, whether it's racial injustice, loving someone of a different color, and people taking it that way. I liked how they showed that. But as Anthony is trying to get more information on Helen, he goes to a college to get like old audio tapes of her. And as he's in the elevator, some candy drops down, and as he opens it up, there's a razor blade in it. He cuts his finger, and he looks up and he sees a reflection of Sherman Fields looking down at him. Now, that scene, I didn't realize what that meant when I watched it on the trailers, but watching it in the movies, it made a little bit more sense, because the Sherman Fields is looking at him, and it's a glass elevator, meaning that he is Sherman. That Sherman is sharing his reflection. They did this scene twice, because the second time they did it, the one of the art curators that saw Anthony's portrait said that this is common for you people. And when Anthony was like, "You people, what do you mean?" She was like, "Artists, you people." Underlining racism, because she didn't mean you people as an artist. She means that this is another Black person making a portrait about the hood, the ghetto, and trying to shed light on it, which is apparently been done thousands of times. And so when Anthony goes to her house to confront her, because now that his portrait is getting clout, basically, is getting notification as being infamous for these murders, that when people are near his portrait, they're dying, or when it's at schools, and the last thing that they go through when they go through the little girl's phone there, they say that she was reading up on the story of C-Man, or his portrait, Say My Name. That was the name of the of his artwork, was Say My Name. And she dies. They start to put two and two together, and his portrait becomes infamous for all these murders. And so the art curator asks him, "How do you feel about this, and what does it mean?" And when Anthony came back with her about how this is just how we artists do things, she didn't take too kindly to that. And when he asked her, "Hey, if you don't believe this, then why don't you say it? If you don't believe that this is a serious thing, and this is just coincidence, that there is not an actual spirit that are committing these murders, then why don't you go and try it?" And she tries to conjure the spirit. As she's doing that, Anthony goes in, because he tries to find something to cover up his hand, because, like I mentioned before, it's decomposing, and it doesn't get bad up until this point where his nail bed is actually coming off. Like, he's able to pull the nail off, and he tries to look for something to cover up the bleeding, and he sees Sherman in the reflection of the mirror that's next to him. And as he's moving, he notices that Sherman is moving with him. You move just like that. And when the art curator is asking him what is he doing, he looks back in the mirror. It's just him, but he does see in her reflection Sherman. And Anthony leaves. Which, this kill was the only kill I had an issue with, because they waited till Anthony left. Okay, he's leaving. He's going downstairs. They pan out, and as they panning out, you see her body. Her body just lifts up, gets tossed around like a rag doll, hits the mirror, and slowly dies down. That one was corny to me, because it was very heavily CGI'd. The effects of it was a little cheesy, but it wasn't the worst but it was not the best scene that they did. You clearly see that they kind of got a little lazy at some point. But as Anthony is starting to get more information about Helen Lynch. I forget her name. I'm gonna put it down here. He finds himself at the hospital because his hand's starting to get a little bit more infected. He goes to the hospital, and the hospital he goes to is the hospital that was in McCarthy Bay. And one of the nurses tell him that, hey, it's been a minute since you've been up here. And he's like, what do you mean? I've never been here before. And she says that, no, you were here once before when you were a child. And at this point, I will say at this point, I was already at the point like, okay, there has to be a connection with Anthony and the story of this story. And when we got to this point, I was like, okay, he's clearly the child. He is the child that was in the story, the original child and the first Seaman that Helen had to rescue because Candyman. If I die, y'all, I want y'all to know that I'm sorry. Had captured. And so Anthony goes back to goes home basically. He goes home to see his mother, which his mother is the original actor for the first movie, the black lady that had to get her child back from Helen, allegedly, because Helen allegedly stole the kid. And when Anthony asks her, hey, how come you didn't tell me that we used to live here? She said that I had to get you away from here. And when he asked why, she was like, for your safety. And he's like, look at me, Mom, do I actually look safe? And at this point, the infection has crawled all the way up from his arm to the side of his neck to his eye. And it's starting to get really worse. And she says that you have been marked by him. That this is why she had to get you out. This is why we had to get you out of this town, because when you come here, this is him trying to pull you back to make you one of him. And this is the transfer of hatred from Cletus Burke to Sherman Fields to now Anthony. And one of the scenes that kind of confused me, because Anthony just gets up and he just leaves. I'm like, okay, we'll find that. I guess you're so upset to find out that you have been not only marked by a supernatural creature that you've now called upon yourself. You're now being told that you're going to turn into him. I can see why you're upset, but I don't know if I would leave my mama's house. But again, that's just me. But he's leaving the house and he's walking down the street, and everybody that you meet, he sees this door open and he hears gunshots and he walks into there, and the scene just ends there, right? The scene ends there. On the next scene, which I haven't done too much talking about his girlfriend, because I feel like her character was only there just to be his girlfriend. So what I mean by that is, like, his girlfriend had some scenes in the movie. She was one of the people of the exhibit that he had his art in, right? She was really successful. Her father was a troubled artist, where he would make paintings, and he was basically Van Gogh. He was dealing with some type of mental illness, and he killed himself. And I think that's kind of why she stuck around with Anthony for so long, because he's also an artist. And like her brother also made that connection. He was like, you can't just take in every troubled artist. They're not all like that. And I think that's kind of why they created her character, was because they wanted someone to be there for Anthony, I guess. But Anthony, prior to Anthony going to see his mom, Anthony and his girlfriend, they had an argument. She tried to call upon the spirit. After Anthony realized that this is dangerous, you don't need to do this, he busted some mirrors in front of her, and she left because she thought that he was trying to kill her. as she's going to look for Anthony, now that she has calmed down, she can't find him. She goes to the random cleaners that William Burke works at. Not able to find William Burke, she goes farther back into the office. She finds herself trapped in there and gets knocked out by William. At this point, I'm confused. I don't know why William has taken upon himself to, one, knock out this woman, and two, really just that. I don't know why he knocked her out, or why he's been introduced into the story. But as the movie continues on, we find out that William wants to help recreate the legend of Seaman. So what he does is he takes it back to the church, the McCarthy Bay Church, that everything, this is where it all started. And Anthony's there. He's there physically, but he's not there mentally for whatever reason. I don't know what. He's just in a trance. His girlfriend is sitting in the pews, looking at him, saying, "Hey, do you hear me? Do you hear me?" He doesn't say anything. William goes and he says that, "Hey, we gotta create the story. So that arm, it got to go." Cuts off the infected arm. Anthony takes it like a champ. I'm talking like Denzel Washington for full honor. That one tear that drops down, that one tear, takes it like a champ. He puts on the hook and calls the police, let them know that, hey, there has been a murder. As he goes to try and kill Anthony's girlfriend escapes and runs away. As she's running away, William's following her. He eventually catches her, and right before he tries to kill her, she, out of nowhere, I forget if she throws a left hook, if she gets him knees in the ball, but for whatever reason, she's able to turn the tables on him and bash his head, to the point of which, out of nowhere, and I think that just had to inject some humor into this very gruesome scene, Anthony comes in and is like, "I think you got him." All infected, I turned white, just like, "I think you got her." And she's like, "Oh my God, Anthony!" And he hobbles over, falls down into her lap, saying that I don't think I'm going to make it. He's in his mind, he's dead. The police shows up, and how do I describe this? Funny, but not too, basically, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. They do what police do best when it comes to seeing someone of color in the projects. They don't ask questions, they just buckshot, and they kill the man. They arrest Anthony's girlfriend, put her in the car, and the sheriff tells her, "Hey, you can either comply and say that you were held hostage and that our officers had to put down your boyfriend because we were protecting you, or you can tell the truth, and then we can say that you were with him and that you were also trying to commit these murders, and you just basically be locked up." And when she hears this story that these police officers are basically trying to lie to make themselves look good, knowing that they have put down a man that did nothing wrong, she asks him, can she look in the mirror and then she will tell her story. And as she looks in the mirror, she calls upon Seaman. And at that point, Anthony rises up from the dead and he slaughters all of them. All the police officers that are at that scene, kills them all dead. And as he's killing them, the bees are coming around and they're covering his body and his face, and he's giving his line like,
"I am the writing on the walls. I am the sweet smell of blood on the street. The buzz that echoes in the alleyways. They will say I shed innocent blood. You are far from innocent, but they'll say you were."
But he kills all the police officers and leaves her because she was innocent. She did not do anything. He was basically saying that he's a protector, that called upon in the right way, this is what he is now. He is the spirit of vengeance. And as he's saying his line, you can see him change from Anthony to Sherman to, I think he did, I don't think he was actually Till, but he did someone, like he did a little boy. It was basically everyone that has been wronged and cruelly persecuted or killed for something that they did not do, just because they allegedly fit a description. Ultimately, he turns back into Cletus Burke, and it's very CGI. It is very CGI, but he turns back to being a young version of him because the gentleman now is way older, and he floats away. I'm talking old school Seaman flying away, and as Anthony's girlfriend's running away, she hears a body getting cut up, and it's Anthony as I guess now Cletus now killing that officer, and he makes contact with her and says, "You will tell my story," and that is the end of the movie. I know it was all over the place on the movie, you guys, but I'm gonna try and condense it a little bit better, or like give my takes on it now at this part. Like I said, I give the movie a strong, not a strong, but a low 9, a strong 8, and it's really because of the fact of, one, that pan out scene I did not like. It just did not work for me at all. I feel like it was a bit of a slow burn. I was expecting a little bit more terror for it, because the main issue that I had with the original movies was that they just didn't age well. So like they weren't really scary. Like there was a scene with the original movie where Helen is laying down in the bed and Seaman is literally floating down, and he's doing this up and down to her, just whispering in her ears, and I'm like, okay, this is a little corny. It's not really that scary. So I was banking on the new one being a little bit more scary, especially because it was coming in Jordan Peele, and he did stuff like Get Out and Us, and I was expecting it to be a little bit more scary. While it wasn't that type of scary, it did give a bit of a real world terror to it, because like I mentioned before, it was a little, it took instances from real life things. There are people of color getting wrongly accused sometimes for crimes, I'll say more than sometimes, for crimes they did not commit. And they used that instance, that media, for this movie. They shed a little bit more of a brighter light onto the subject. I would say in terms of like graphics for it, minus the CGI with Oprah getting tossed around like a rag doll and a little bit of Cletus Burke's face, there were scenes in the movie where they used puppetry, paper puppetry of either telling the story of Cletus Burke, how he was a painter, or Helen Lynn's, and like they were showing the scenes of that, and it looked amazing. That looked amazing. The story in itself was really good. I did like how they connected Anthony to being the child that was in the first movie. I didn't see that coming till like halfway into the movie. I did like that. I did like the mythos of him being not just originally just being Cletus Burke, but more so that every injustice is a Seaman. That anything that could, any type of injustice could breed that, and I like that. I like that story. I like the movie. I did notice that a lot of younger people that went to see it, and like I'm 25, but I'm an old person at heart. So I watched the older movies, so I kind of understood it. But like when I went to the movie and I wasn't with, but I could hear some kids that I want to say that they were like they're 18, 20, in that range, right? They got up and they was like, man, this movie wasn't scary. It was nothing. It was boring, it was whack. And they walked up, and I was like, y'all didn't understand the message that the movie was giving. Like, it was scary, but not in a thriller type of way. It was more of a like, okay, this actually happens. Like, there are people that are actually getting attacked or murdered for things that they did not do. And all these events can cause someone like Seaman to be born. But yeah, I like the movie. I give it a low 9, high 8. I do think that it was not as funny, and it could age badly like the original, and it could make it funny. But I feel like they tried to make a bit of a serious tone with it, even with the scenes that they did involve him. He wasn't just floating until like the end. He wasn't just floating like, ooh. But yeah, that was my hot take on the movie. I enjoyed it. If you guys haven't seen it, I would say you should definitely go watch the movie. It's a good movie. Jordan Peele did his thing. The man don't miss. He Seth Curry with the shot. He don't miss. And yeah, I would definitely go watch it. I would say that I would be interested to see if they decided to keep doing these movies. They should definitely do that. Side note. The man that is the original Seaman is also the voice of Venom for the Spider-Man 2 game coming out. I thought that was interesting because that man's voice, like if they have Venom say, "Be my victim," I'm gonna be like, I can't even fight him now, because like I see Venom, but I don't hear Venom. I hear Seaman, and I'm like, you know what, you got this, G. I don't even want to run the hands with you. Miles, you want this? Miles gonna look at me like, man, I don't even want this. I'm already gone. Like, I already know the story of him. Like, I don't know about you, Peter, but I know the story. I don't want to mess with him. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the movie. If you have seen it, or if you plan to go see it, please let me know down in the comment. As well as if you have already seen it, what's your take on it? But with all that being said, I'll catch you guys again later. Peace.